This conference will now be recorded.
Cindy, this is Bruce at the meeting. I think maybe you don't have your microphone muted, so we can hear you.
I just unmuted it. I had muted it, and now it's unmuted. But
Okay. We're going to start here shortly.
I'll keep it muted throughout unless you ask me to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, we'll call a meeting in order. Would everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a few things. Keep our thoughts with Commissioner Street, who is hospitalized right now with broken ribs. So please keep your thoughts with him. Also, if there's anyone online or in the body of the audience that came for the hearing on the ordinance, it didn't make the paper in time, and we will not be discussing that today. It will be at November 12th at 9 a.m. Okay. With that, first item will be to approve the agenda. Is there any changes, Bruce?
No changes, Mr. Chairman. I would note that at 8:30, I'm going to be taking John Bay's spot. Ryan Gustafson from Heavy Contractors will be here to discuss those permits from Celerity that you continued until today. And then also at 9:30, Corey Miller from Elevatus will be joining online. Other than that, I don't know of any other things to make you aware of.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the agenda. All those in favor of the, will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any conflicts today? Seeing none. Okay, we need approval of the regular minutes from October 8th.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the meeting minutes. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Bills, I've gone through mine and my questions have been answered.
We're good.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow payment of the bills. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any personnel, Brenda?
I do not.
Okay. Travel request.
I have none, Chairman.
Okay, next is to approve the 2025 County Commission meeting schedule. I believe everyone has a copy of that.
Chairman, can you sign? Chairman, can you sign the minutes for me?
The only problem with the adjustments, I'll just point out that last year is when we started scheduling 2 in February. And they both got done about 9:15. Because almost always I'm out of town for that second February one. So, although I can send it online, so if you guys want to do 2 in February.
You don't have to approve it today.
Want to just continue it for a while here? Keep thinking about it?
I also have a conflict on July 8th along with the January 7th one.
July 8th is the budget workshop.
It is. So I don't know if we can reschedule the budget workshop to a different meeting, or that would be my preference, but it's up to you guys what you want to do. I know that I will be gone that week.
Continue it until another meeting.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
Okay.
All right. Automatic supplement. Brenda.
So this is back in the middle of the summer, we signed the application for the JJRI diversion program, and it was submitted. And at that time, it was agreed that this money would go back to teen court. So I just need a motion to allocate this money to teen court so that we can cut them a check.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow the transfer. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
U.S. Imaging Advantage Agreement, $118,000.
Vita Hansel is here, Mr. Chairman.
Rita, would you like to fill us in on what's going on?
Do you want me to come up or just stay here?
Sure. Welcome you to our table.
Well, this year's project, they are actually almost done. They have everything in to 1990. They're just doing their double check. So they're actually ahead of schedule on that. So this is just the second phase. And this is 1989 to 1976. And this is where they're adding the names of everybody, so the grantor, grantee, and the legal description to everything into the DocPro system. And so this is just, we've discussed it before, and this is just the agreement for the second extension, or second year.
And I believe the motion would be to allow Davida to sign the document.
Yes.
And we've already, this is already budgeted. This
Oh,
is-
yeah.
It's just waiting, we're just paying the bill.
Yep.
Just doing the agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to allow Davida to sign the agreement. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Don't you sign that if you could give me a copy?
Upcoming holiday schedule, I'm assuming this is in reference to the letter from the governor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think if I can paraphrase, I think you have already allowed for the Friday after Thanksgiving and for Christmas Eve, which is on a Tuesday this year. So what this would entail would be an extra day would be the Monday leading up to Christmas Eve, for Christmas Eve, which should be the 23rd. Otherwise, I think those other days are already baked in as holidays.
That's correct.
Okay.
Again, you don't have to decide today, but I think folks would like to know if they could ahead of time, and we've had inquiries.
Just the personnel manual says that you may, if the governor, president declares something as a administrative leave, it gives you that, gives you that discretion to either approve or not approve. So
I personally don't have a problem with it.
You know, it's just gonna be a pain. Of course, you don't ever get anything done between Christmas and New Year's anyway, it seems like, but to be gone that weekend, then open Monday, close Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday, and then close again, so there's.
Send a motion.
Well, and the state prison will be shut down, so as far as
The auditor's office is difficult,
doing
or the
business,
treasurer's
it
office
makes
is
it tough.
difficult.
So I would support it. But that's up to you, gentlemen. What do you want to think on it a while?
I'll make the motion to follow the governor's
Directive.
letter on the days off. I can't remember
Granting the
how we
administrative
word
leave.
that thing,
yeah,
the governor's holiday schedule
Mhm.
regarding Christmas.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right.
thank you all very much.
Looks like we're down to 13. And I think that's your time to give us a sheriff's report.
So I spoke with Sheriff Dean and he had nothing to report today.
Nothing to report.
Nope.
No update on the public safety or nothing.
What he tells me.
Like it.
He makes life easy for you.
I appreciate that. At least here, anyway.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, there's been a lot of work. Jamie and Pat have been involved in it to get dispatch moved up there. Very, very complicated, very well organized, and it's going well so far, I think, right?
It's going well.
Yeah, from what you've been keeping us surprised of it with email, and it sounds like it's going quite well. Brandon?
That's what I was just gonna comment on. The email updates
Yeah.
are interesting.
So thank you for that.
They're very helpful, that's for sure.
Pretty complicated process.
So dispatch went to Pennington County yesterday and that went off without a hitch, I assume.
But pretty well.
Mhm.
Said,
What's
"How
the
would it
difference
hitch?"
between without a hitch and
And
going
it went
well?
No, it's going well. All the equipment's moving. A lot of us are already out of the building and up to the new site, so it's going well.
All right.
Nice work.
Thank you. I will make an announcement again, if anyone is here online or in the room for the public hearing on the proposed ordinance change, that's not gonna happen today because it did not get published. So that'll be November 12th at 9 a.m. if anyone is listening or here for that. All right. We can't do our public hearing yet because we still got, John's not here.
I can start.
Why don't you go ahead and start, Bruce? Somebody jump start me at 8:25 so I can do the public hearing.
As usual, John has done his normal report, which is very handy, so I use that basically as a script. Again, Ryan Gustafson will be here to talk about the pending permits, but I can move on, and I think as he reports, the Whitewood Service Bridge with state, or the contractor has given a final completion date, but it's anticipated that that will be done, I think, sometime by the end of November, and that's reflected in John's report as well. He also lets you know that they're moving away from their summer hours into their winter hours, so from 7 to 3:30 Monday through Friday.
We start that today, did they?
I think it was
Monday.
yesterday. Yep. And then this came up on Thursday, I think it was. The state notified John that I think we're ready to go to bids if you would authorize it on the Christensen Drive Bridge. And so we'd be looking for a motion to authorize to advertise for bids and receive bids.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow going to bids.
November 26th at 8:30.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
And then otherwise you see his invoices, the things that have been paid for. I have nothing further to add. Appreciate you doing his report.
Yeah, he's very thorough with that, and that makes it a lot easier.
We just wait for someone from Peggy
Yeah,
to finish that out.
Well, I drove all those roads yesterday, and I would like to see them finish the Homestake Road in its entirety before moving over and going to the north of that interstate. They've already plowed in quite a bit north of the interstate, but they don't have any open trenches or holes. But we can have further discussion on that when the gentleman gets here.
I think the absentee voting's been pretty heavy, right?
Has it?
It's been extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Well,
You have any questions about that? Yeah, yesterday was the last day to register to vote.
when does the Spearfish office open?
Opened yesterday.
Yesterday.
Would you have 200 there yesterday?
Three.
In Spearfish?
300?
Had 631 yesterday.
Total.
It was a busy day.
Busy day.
What percent, yeah, do you know, offhand?
I don't, not off the top of my head.
Well,
I could probably come pretty close.
without getting into anything further here, let's just take a 10-minute break and then we'll be in our public hearing time and we can take care of that.
Okay.
So,
I'll meet the meeting for now. We'll be back online in 5-10 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting back to order. We are at
Is the meeting back in session? I think Mr. Atka's mic is muted.
Here we go. Sorry.
Oh, thank you so much.
So there you go.
All right. We'll offer to the public. It is a public hearing. If there's anyone here for or against this, you may stand at this time and state your name and address for the record.
I'm Scott Bell, one of the petitioners.
Okay. What's your address, sir?
209 North Bridge Street in Canton, South Dakota.
Okay, thank you.
A year ago, we platted that property up there, and somehow or other we missed the vacation of the right-of-way lines, which we should have done at that time. So we're not doing that now. So we're looking to build a house on that lot 5. Right now, it would sit right smack dab on top of the right-of-way line, which is why we're doing what we're doing here now.
Prefer not to have a road through the living room.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else like to speak for or against? Anyone online that would like to speak to this? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and offer to the board. Commissioner Flanagan.
I'm usually the one that has issue with preservation of section lines and rights of way. This is, as was stated, a property and inholding surrounded by Forest Service. So the Forest Service has access on either side and all the way around it. So it doesn't affect, I don't see that it affects anyone except the subdivision properties. So I will make the motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you. All right, Bruce, you want to visit with this gentleman from?
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, this is Ryan Gustafson from Heavy Contractors. I think he's following up on those celerity permits that you continued from your last meeting and give you a progress update and kind of help you maybe be at ease at what they're up to. I would defer to him.
You can come up to the table and sit if you'd like.
Sure. I'd just like to say thank you for everybody's patience in this project. It's been kind of a tough one so far, at least the last month or so being in this rock and stuff. It's kind of a bugger getting through. I didn't want to hand out these maps. It's a smaller portion of a large project that we're doing. Looking to build out quite a bit of more of Lawrence County over the next year or so.
Ryan, do I remember correctly that you started in May on this project and you've got about 250 miles done and you've got about 250 miles to go?
Correct. Yep. We started in Wyoming. We did about 200 something miles out there, and I think we're close to 50 in Lawrence County right now or so. But yeah, it's just this last couple weeks or so has been tough going in the rock over there, but I did pretty much put all my troops I can down there, rock breaking and
Yeah, you
whatnot.
did here. I own the piece up there that you've got totally surrounded. Where you're headed up the hill right now in the solid rock that's my 4 fence along in there. And if they'd be so kind when they get done to maybe pile some rock around the posts that are going over. We don't have any livestock in there right now.
Have they got some going over there?
But yeah, that's tough rock.
Yeah, we'll fix everybody's fences and whatnot as we go along, and I plan to hydro seed it all, and we've been hauling dirt in and rock out, and all
So
that
you'll
fun
pick up
stuff.
the piles of rock that are.
Yeah, we've kind of been actively doing it. We usually have a side dump or something there every couple days.
I was up through there yesterday and you're busy up there.
Yeah, pretty much moved all my troops down there just to get it done. So, but before we got to that section, I called John Bay. We're up north of the interstate, and he kind of verbally gave me a go ahead on quite a few permits up there: Chicken Creek, McNenny, Upper Redwater, some roads up there. And we had started them, and I think it was about 25 miles, and we got about 20 miles in, and then that's when we had to request to stop, which I think is quite fair. But I guess I'd like to continue up there if I can, pending finishing homestake and stuff down there, getting that cleaned up nice and whatnot.
I personally would like to see you get homestake finished before you.
I was just gonna say, just to remind everybody, there's 5 celerity permits pending: Mossy Lane, Chicken Creek, McNenny, and Redwater, Upper Redwater.
And that was about 25 miles total, I think, and we finished about 20 in 2 weeks. Now we just have
That's
to
a
go.
little easier going over there, isn't it?
Yeah, we just got all the boring remaining basically, so there's nothing
Ryan,
too
when
intensive.
we talked, I can't remember. So you have work that you'd like to get done this year. Do you have an end date of works for work this year, or is it just weather dependent?
I'd say weather dependent. I'd say we got probably a week and a half, 2 weeks left on homestake to get it all cleaned up and whatnot, and then I'll have to schedule some hydro seeding from there. And probably to finish out the year, it'd probably be a good month by the time we get all the boring done up north of the interstate if those permits are approved. So, but yeah, I'd say by the end of the year we'd be wrapped up with that homestake area and then up north as well.
So do you have boring to do at homestake?
We have a couple short ones left, I think.
I think you have most of it done.
Down the way, with those 2 huge draws, and we're getting to the other side of those now, and we're.
You just gonna go overhead there?
Yep, the 2 draws, we're gonna set telephone poles on and go overhead. And then on the other side of them, there's some nicer grass, if I remember right. I'm gonna try to bore that and avoid trenching through it,
But all you have Chicken Creek area is boring.
left, yeah.
Left.
Yep. I have about 4 miles of plowing. So we got 20 out of the 25 miles done or so, and then a bunch of boring. My subcontractor's up there working on a Butte County roads right now. He's about done with the 2 Butte County roads, and ideally he was going to transition into Chicken Creek and all those roads, but that's kind of the outlook we got. And we do have about 200 miles to go, I think, all in Lawrence County over the next, hoping to be done by the end of next year, roughly. So.
Well, I think the concern was the Homestake Road at one point was a real mess. And I may have even made the motion to hold it until that was fixed. So it wasn't a big open mess and yet another open mess on the north side.
Yeah. I completely understand.
So you could see that you could actually finish it the way it was supposed to be finished. So that's where, I think I'm the one that made the motion. I can't remember for sure, but that was the concerns that were going on. Yes, after, because he could make a motion, so I had to make it for him.
Yeah. And the reason for that is ideally it happens a little quicker, but we kind of have different crews doing different things, and we go out with the plows and kind of find where the rock is or is not. My rock crew at that time was out on Rifle Pit Road in Wyoming. So I moved them over to there, but kind of the process is we run our plow along and see what we can get to depth and not get to depth, and then we have to bring the rock crews in after is kind of the process. That one was a little delayed because I did have all those crews over on Rifle Pit Road. But
Well, I understand the process. It's not unlike construction where you get the sheet rockers and the electricians, you got to coordinate everybody. But when you had one main county road that was a disaster, we drove it from what it was like before anyone was working on it. You don't want to have them tear open something else until that one is at least put together mostly.
Yeah.
So I understand the need to move from one place to another to get for more efficiency, but I think that was Commissioner Ewing made a point to say that it's a mess up there. And of course, I live out not too far from there, so So that's, when he said it wasn't fair, Mr. Bay in reality should not have given you verbal permission to do anything. It should have come before he said that, but
Sure.
I also recognize that the north side is a lot easier to deal with than the south in this area.
Well, I drove all of them on the north side yesterday and they've done a good job over there thus far. I think it looked good.
Yeah, the plow lines are a lot cleaner and things up there, so.
Do you see any issues with?
No, as long as they finish homestake and
Yeah, I'm gonna keep about 4 or 5 crews going on homestake. I think probably have a week and a half to 2 weeks left.
And it sounds like you have more to do in Lawrence County, so if this ends up being a mess, we can always take that into account on the next set of easements. Then I'll make a motion to approve the permits, with the understanding we're gonna be watching to make sure that things are put back the way they're supposed to be, just so that you're clear.
we're not on way, we're discussing.
I'll second that. It happens, It's not
Okay.
fun looking at that.
You made a motion, did we have a second?
I believe it's.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as a 5 permits, Bruce?
Yes.
And any further discussion?
Just one more question. You said you were working on with the current permits that are on the motion right now. Are you planning on continuing on in the northern part of Lawrence County or north of the interstate after that? Or is that next year?
Probably next year.
Next year. So you're just trying to get this part done, these current permits. And
We're gonna get everything buttoned up, cleaned up, and then ideally I'd be hopefully applying for permits throughout the winter and early spring, gearing up for next year kind of. So
We've got the weather right now to get it done.
Yeah, the federal sign program has kind of interfered with you too. I see they come along and put some signs in right where you needed to be.
yeah, those hams guys are kind of a bugger. A couple of years ago, they came out and hit the same CenturyLink line, I think 8 days in a row. Had to go fix it out on Rochford Road, so.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for coming in.
Appreciate it, and I do have some business cards here too, if anybody has any concerns, they can call me and we'll handle them, so. There you go.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
I think that concludes all the highway business then.
Okay, I'm gonna quick sign all these. Is Jeff here? He isn't here yet?
Jeff,
Schroeder?
I can get him.
Right.
Mr. Rizzo's not here, however.
Kind of be at a little bit of ease here till we get Jeff down here. Yeah, after we denied this permits last night, well, they jumped right on the homestead road. There's crews all over up there.
Yeah, I've been by there earlier and noticed it was a little messed up, but not, I think it was before you had said that it was really
Oh, it's
pulled up.
pretty crazy.
But I'm going across in the same creek, and once you cross the county line, it's so dusty and gravel and dirt dust.
I
Washboard.
think I got them all, Bruce.
Okay, I'll double check.
Hey guys, I think I lost audio. This is Cindy Knapp. I don't know if somebody muted themselves.
Cindy, we're on a break right now. We're just trying to line up some more people to come, so you're not missing anything. I muted it on purpose. Cindy, you've muted yourself now, so we can't hear you.
I said I apologize. I didn't hear you say you were going on break. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Yep, we're back online.
Okay, call a meeting back to order. We're back online.
Corey.
And,
The 9:30 item.
I can go, Mr. Chair.
yeah, Corey Miller from Elevatus.
Corey, this is Bruce. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can, yeah. Thank you for joining us early. I've got you, the county commission is in session right now. They got ahead, so yeah, again, thank you for joining. For the commission's consideration is your request, and I did provide a copy of your letter to the commissioners,
Yeah.
but you're going to be addressing the IRS Section 179D tax deduction incentive, which I think is a county allocation that can be made to others. And so I think that's a fair kind of summary. I would defer to you, Corey, any questions the commissioners might have.
Yeah, I can answer any questions or go through the history of why we've approached you guys about this, or whatever works best.
You want to go ahead and go through the history of it, sir?
Sure. So in the past, we've got a long history of using a deduction, but we ran into some headwinds a few years ago. So in the past couple of years, we've started looking at it again. Historically, our private developers can capture this, right? So they're incentivized by the IRS to meet some energy goals on efficiency of the building, and it's based on HVAC systems, electrical systems, lighting, and the building envelope. And for a private developer, if they invest a certain amount of money and they meet these goals, and it's independently reviewed by an engineer to validate that it meets these energy codes or exceeds them, they can get a tax deduction based on a big complicated thing that accountants understand and I don't. But essentially, the private developers can then get that as a tax credit. It goes against the income, so it's not a refund, but it just decreases your amount of income. So as we look at projects as they get complete, your project came to mind as one that we think could meet the requirements. So if it does meet the requirements, which we need to send an engineer out and validate what's been constructed and it meets the design intent, they will run through the calculations and get the final number. But before they do that, we obviously need to ask you as the owners if you would be so kind as to allocate that potential tax credit to us. So I think there's a number on there, and I don't have it open. I apologize. There's a number in there that's the anticipated tax deduction that we would split between us and the mechanical engineers on the project. We will send somebody out on our dime to do the audit and validate it. Once they come up with a final number, presuming there is a deduction, there'll be a follow-up letter that would say, here's the actual final allocation. But essentially, like I said, it's something that as a municipality or county government, the tax credit isn't really available to you, but you can allocate it to the designers of the systems. So we're asking for the request to allocate those potential tax credits, and we'll initiate the engineers and the accountants that do their research and validate that there is a credit available.
Okay, Commissioner Flanagan.
Has the sheriff and or the county oversight team looked at this and reviewed it?
Mr. Chairman, the group has not had an opportunity to review it as a group. And I would just say, as you pointed out, and so everybody else who's listening, the total amount of the allocation would be $209,437,000. As proposed, it would be split 65% to Elevatus in the amount of $134,05, and then 35% to Skyline Engineering, which would be $73,302.95. And Commissioner Sleep is gone here today too. He might be very interested in this. Corey, if I may, is there a deadline? Is there a deadline by which that you would hope that the commission would make a decision? Is it an end of the year thing or sooner than that?
Well, we would. Well, there's two deadlines there. Presuming the project is substantially complete before the end of the year, I'd like the approval to send our engineers out there that you'll consider doing the tax allocation, the credit allocation to us, so we can send that third party out there to do the review before the end of the year. If the project is not substantially complete by the end of the year, then it becomes a 2025 question. So the approval still doesn't change. It would just we wouldn't take the tax credits until 25. And I do want to be clear, Bruce, as you read those numbers, Our accountants have given us a range, and that's the low range. And it really depends on how things were installed and the final equipment that was in place. But there will be an adjustment letter to tell you the final number at a later date. But the intent of sharing that allocation is what the first kickoff is.
So Corey, it sounds to me like until we have substantial completion, or have a better idea of what date that's going to be, that I'll use the term premature, or we have time to act on this. Is that fair?
That's fair. Yeah.
Any other questions that commissioners have, or if you have any more, you can get them to me and I can forward them on to Corey.
Okay.
So
Sounds like we'll continue this and certainly think about it for you. Thank you.
thank you, Chairman.
I appreciate it.
We'll do our best to submit it before our sort of group that meets, and maybe be able to formulate a recommendation as well. We'll keep you posted, Corey. Thank you for your time today.
No, thank you.
I think Paul is waiting for a couple folks to join him for his report.
Jack was waiting for another one. Well, we'll get one more little item out of the way. Is there any discussion from the commissioners that we'll get that out of the way? Commissioner Flanagan.
I was contacted the other day by email from by Carlos from the fish hatchery. I'm trying to find that email.
I've got it right here.
They're doing some dredging at the hatchery, and they want to have they're trying to do a little road so they can haul this dredging out. And they were asking if the county might be able to haul some base course in so they can do this little runway, this little roadway. And I asked them to forward and send an email to Bruce and to Mr. Bay to see how difficult it might be and put it on.
Like how much material are they talking?
I'm not sure. I don't think it's a ton. He said he put the request with the city of Spearfish, and they didn't have the ability to do it at least any time timely.
They dredging the pond?
That's my understanding. Well, I don't know if it's.
I can read it.
Do you have it? Please
Yep.
do.
So I hope, hi Brandon, I hope you've been enjoying the incredible weather. The DC booth will begin draining and dredging the large viewing pond in the next month or so. It is full of sediment from the flood that hit back in 2023. We've had some fish health and algae issues as a result. In order to remove the sediment, we need to build a temporary earthen ramp from the campground side to provide access for front end loaders. I was wondering if it would be possible for the county to deliver some road base so we could construct the earthen ramp for pond access, and or be willing to haul away some of the sediment after we remove it from the pond. I suspect it would be used as a capping material at the, it could be used as a capping material at the landfill. We would be happy to show you the location of the ramp. Asked the city for assistance, but it sounds like they did not have availability for this year. Thank you. It's Carlos Martinez.
It's right in city limits. In their campground, I would think they could furnish a dump tractor, take in some material, but
He had just sent that to me. I think it was yesterday morning, and so I forwarded it both to Bruce and to Mr. Bay, and he's at conference right now, I believe.
well, gentlemen.
So,
Mr. Chairman, we haven't heard back from Mr. Bay yet, so maybe you want to
Wait to hear from John.
I would like to hear a recommendation from him.
Yeah, all right.
Unfortunately, we're burning nice weather, but he would know.
I would pretty much defer to whatever he feels is appropriate.
Well, looks like all the questions are here for Jeff.
Okay, Mr. Rizzi.
Jeff, you want to come forward and start the discussion on?
I do. Dalton, do you want to come up? Sure. Morning. This is for doing a review on, you can place it down, on conditional use permit 185. This is the ball pit on Brownsville Road. I won't read you the whole staff report. I'll give you a couple highlights. This was approved in February of 93. May of 93, excuse me. It was put on an as-needed basis in May of 2005. We have never, since its inception, we've never had a complaint on this gravel pit. We received a formal complaint from Mr. Rizzi here on July 25th of this year. The complaint listed dust from the property blowing towards his property that he owns across the road of Brownsville Road, where his residence is. What I've provided is a copy of a map of where it's at, where his house sits, copy of all the conditions, and some pictures that have been taken. Bruce and I have been out there, I don't know, 5 or 6 times now together. And the days we were out there, we did not see much of a dust problem. But there are some pictures where it looks like it was a windy day, and there's some dust blowing in the air. The state has been in there and had them change their dust control on the conveyors.
We just added water.
To it.
Pressure sprayer.
For the crusher.
Pressure sprayer.
And stuff. So, and there is a copy as well of a contract with the state, I believe, and for the project that they are doing. Right now, the operation is pretty much done for the year. The pressure's been taken down, so probably not an urgent, like, has to be fixed tomorrow, but we're looking for guidance on what the commissioners would like to do as far as maybe conditions or not, or, Bruce, please.
Mr. Chairman, in the interim since your last meeting, we've had discussions with the halls, and they've done a few things now, just kind of bring you up to speed on those. So one of the concerns was no established entry and exit point, and the halls have established those. John Bay has given his blessing on what they've done. They've lined the road that we're at way with rocks there, so they do have a designated exit and entry point. They've also, I think, since your last meeting, when the trucks are there in the mornings, they're not staging on the road itself, they're staging on site. And so that's been done as well. John Bay recommended maybe updating some of the signage, and I think that Dalton has been working with John Bay. The signs are in, but just waiting for them maybe to be installed. Is that fair? Correct. As I recall too, and I will defer to Dalton, just to kind of bring you up to speed, I think when the big state project started this year, the crusher was out front more closely towards the road. I think Dalton would explain that in the pictures that you see here, maybe that the crusher has now been moved back, I think, to the north. So it's further away from the road and more enclosed. It's kind of more in that canyon area, I think, as I would look at it, right?
Correct.
And so that has changed. And we talked to DANR a week and a half or so ago, and I think Ms. Rizzi had also been visiting with them. And so I think the DANR had been out there 4 times. I don't want to speak for them, but I'm kind of paraphrasing what I think I know. And they are in compliance with all the state rules. I think they originally did have some issues with the crusher, but again, the work that was done resolved any crushing issues. And so, as I understand it, they're compliant with all DANR rules now. I think Dalton would talk about maybe looking at buying a watering truck for next year for the season.
That's the plan.
As part of the dust control. Jeff referenced the agreement for the state contract. I didn't really know about that until fairly recently, but there's a provision in there that I think if we are having trouble out there with dust from the project hauling on the road, we may be able to invoke that and have them come out, meaning the contractor, put, I don't know, methchloride or water or something down there, right? I should also add that the county was out crushing this summer as well and did quite a bit of work on the road. And so we've had folks out there, for probably the last month or so. And I've asked John Bay to please let me know if he or his crew sees any issues out there, and they haven't reported any that I'm aware of. And again, we'll get to hear from Mr. Rizzi and his point of view as well. But they've been watering the road and trying to keep the dust down. When I've been out there, my personal observation is there's probably been about as much dust on the road as there has been from the operation. But again, that's other days that I've been out there. Make sense to everybody?
Add anything to that?
Sure. Just starting out. So from the last time we talked, I talked to John and everybody's came out and they said that first that we were getting a little bit of dust down in the bottom. So we said we moved all the piles back since the last time I've been in here, and then we lined the road with rock. The closest we are is like 37 feet. So I mean we're well outside of encroachment area there, so should be good there. And then after we were adding water to that picture right there, that last one, you could see that it is dustier there. We were adding water to it, but it's such a dry year. It just seemed like we couldn't get ahead at all. But so what we ended up doing is I had our crushing crew tear down. We took all the expense, of course, but we had to move up top. I don't really understand why, but so kind of like that picture is kind of a good one there. So like running down that hill, it seems like that's, if there's wind at all, that's the direction that it goes. Call it 50% of the time. which is towards Mark's house.
To the
and-
south, right?
To the south, yeah, yeah. And I wouldn't say it's a majority of the time. I would say maybe 50%, maybe. But so we said, well, let's see if we can't get ahead of this ball just a little bit. So we had to move up top. And then I don't know what it is with that pit, but the wind doesn't go south up top. It just does. If you go up one more picture, maybe one more, keep going up. Up a little bit. But there's one picture in there that Mark took a picture of it, and it shows that the wind is literally blowing to the east. It's not even blowing at his house at all. So, I mean, that's just what it does up on top. So I thought that should help the problem. So like that one right there, like that's directly to the east right there. If anything, it's blowing towards Dad's house, but yeah, so we did that. And honestly, like I thought that it was substantially better up on top. I didn't think there was any issues whatsoever up there. But like Bruce said, we are buying a water truck and rigging up a water truck this winter. We should be ready to go first crushed rock next year. I'm planning on doing just our haul routes in the pit for starters. If we need to do more, we can do more too. We talked about trying to do the water in the piles too. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. We can try, and see if that helps. But I mean, for the most part, the only bit of dust that comes off the stackers is off the top of the stackers. So I don't know if it would help. We can try and see if it helps. But that's pretty much all I got for that.
Mr. Rizzi, would you like to speak at this time?
Yeah, sure.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mark Rizzi, 11457 Brownsville Road.
Okay.
This is all news to me, and when I made the complaint, like I told you gentlemen before, I'd gone over and talked to the halls multiple times, and they told me there was nothing they could do. I wish the halls would have actually come to me and expressed what they're going to try and do and work with me, and I would work with them. But from what I've gotten from them, I'm now the enemy, and I don't like that. That's not what I'm here for. We just want to enjoy our property. I just want to go over a few things. I got a hold of South Dakota School of Mines Geology Department, asked them what type of rock that was that they're mining, and it's called rhyolite. Rhyolite is between 20 and 60% by volume quartz. Quartz contains silica. Silica can cause cancer, COPD, liver problems, kidney problems. That's all here. It's all medical. It's all fact-based. That is what our biggest concern was with the dust coming on our property. I understand the halls want to make gravel, and I am all for them making as much as they want, as long as it doesn't affect our quality of life. That's all. And the dust coming onto our property affects our quality of life, and that's just not acceptable. When it comes to the rest of their conditional use permit, the only reason I brought those things up is because I wanted to know why they weren't being followed, because in there they were supposed to have a dust control program and all that other stuff. So I was like, well, I just lumped it all together. My thing is, and if you guys want this stuff, I can give it to you. I talked to Brett Graves at the DNR. He said he's only responsible for the crusher, and he can only comment on the crusher. As far as the rest, he does not comment on. The fugitive dust and all the other stuff, he says, I cannot comment on that. So, and he sent me an email stating that if you guys want. Like I said, if the halls would have at least, they got caught running without a permit, putting too much dirt in the air. And so, did you have a permit? The DNR said you did not have a permit.
We had a permit the whole time.
Please address all your comments to the commission.
I'm sorry. But the DNR told me that he did not have a permit. And they were putting way too much dust in the air. I actually expected the halls to come to me and say, hey, look, sorry, we thought there was nothing we could do, but there was. We told you there wasn't, but there was. I'll work with them, but I can't work with them when they want to treat me like I'm the enemy. All we want is to enjoy our property and enjoy what we have worked very hard to obtain. That's all, without having to put up with the dust. And I appreciate all the work you guys have done. Bruce, honestly, I do. I really appreciate it.
We're taking it very seriously.
It means a lot.
Okay, well, I think listening to Dalton and Bruce and from the DANR and all that, I think, and Dalton's comments today, I think it sounds like everything is going forward will be a lot better.
I think we're on the right path. I truly do. If it all comes to fruition and everything works like the plan is supposed to, I think it'll be just fine. But I wouldn't be here today if there would have been conversations like this between us. But like I said, they have been treating me like I'm the enemy, and I didn't do that. That's not what I came here for.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for.
One question, Mr. Rizzi. Since the Halls have moved the crusher up on top of the hill, have you noticed a difference in the dust at that point, or were you not aware that they moved the crusher?
I don't pay attention what they do over there, other than when the dust starts coming and I can taste it and I can smell it, then I.
And when was the last time that you had an issue with the dust that you could tell that there was dust?
How many? 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think it was, I don't know. So I don't know the date of your picture, but we had high winds right before that. I don't know what day Mark took it. The day we got it, I don't think was a high wind day, but the days before it was significantly windy, right? So I don't know what that represents. It might be fair.
And like I said, I don't know. How long ago did you move that crusher up there?
About a month.
So it's been since he moved the crusher up there then.
Well, it sounds like things are coming together, so thank you for your comments. And Dalton, thank you for coming in and
Thank
the support.
you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, did you have anything further, Jeff?
No, that's all I had.
All right,
Thank you, Jeff.
is Paul's people here?
No, but, for the sake of time, I can go ahead, Paul.
Okay, why don't you come up and take care of the fire restriction, Paul?
Okay, the reason that I had Bruce put this on the agenda was that recently the Forest Service came out with I suppose you saw in the paper, Black Hills National Forest enters stage 2 fire restrictions. And there was some confusion that would cover everybody in the county. That restriction only covers Black Hills Forest land, and the BLM came out shortly after that and said it'll be on BLM land also. So in light of that, you could actually have a private campground on one side of the road with campfires and a Forest Service campground on the other side of the road with no campfires. Some people get pretty cross about that, but not that I expect the commission to do anything. I wanted to leave the opportunity there for you if you wish. Like I said, the last time we looked at this was in 2012, and it's pretty much a standing ordinance, 1201, I believe, for north of the interstate, which that's not in the fire protection district. So the ordinance at that time that was constructed sets it that people north of the interstate can burn when it's moderate or low in the grassland fire index only. We've had quite a few that ignore that. And most of them, if warned one time by the sheriff's department, will not burn again. We've got a few that don't care. They burn whatever they want to burn. So that we have a few times where the deputies go back and continually remind them. And I talked to fire chief from St. Ange and the fire chief from Whitewood. They cover that entire area. Scott Merrill from St. Ange said he'd be in favor if you wanted to shut down all burning. There's Cody's here and Ray's coming in. They're from South Dakota Wildland Fire, and I wanted to get their take on what's going on as well. So Scott Merrill from St. Ange said he's in favor of shutting down the burning. Fire Chief DJ from Whitewood said He'd go either way. He said, as long as things were like they are today and they were yesterday, yeah, it's really dry. The only thing that would bother them is if the wind came up, and we've had windy days. If we torch off a fire in those windy days, it'd be hard to get ahead of. So just wanted the discussion out there. Cody, Ray, comments from you on the fire danger? You got a weather briefing yesterday?
Yeah, so.
If you could identify yourself for that record, please.
Yeah, Ray Black, South Dakota Wildland Fire, Assistant Fire Management Officer here in Lawrence County with state. And so we had a weather briefing from Darren Clable, our state fire meteorologist yesterday. And so he said, yeah, for like the next 8 to 14 days here, we're going to be pretty dry. We are seeing a little bit of a shift in weather pattern probably coming in November, but we know how that goes. Just wait 24 hours and the weather changes. So rest of October, we're going to probably see pretty dry, but then eventually we're probably getting a little bit of wet, winter weather going forward. As far as like the burning and stuff, so our campfire permits and stuff that are out there state that if we have any burn bans or fire restrictions in place, also state that if there's a fire weather watch or red flag warning in effect for that day, that nobody can burn in campfire rings. And it also states in there about high winds and whatnot, so we are protected on that side. On the day-to-day stuff, as it goes to the slash pile burning, there is no slash pile burning until we get the minimum of 2 inches of snow cover that we receive, or if a little bit more this year, and that we really set into the winter months with snow coming in, that weather pattern. So going forward, I think all them little stoppers that we put in place there, like, we're protected, in the county. The private citizens can't do that stuff. We'll get the first snow, we'll get a lot of burn permits that people want. They'll be issued, but they got to wait for conditions to have them conditions in place. Typically we don't see escape slash piles until 2 or 3 days later if the weather warms up and I kind of escape. So Black Hills Forest, the Black Hills National Forest has put their stage 2 fire restrictions in place, which that'll go until December 25th. And that is no burning in any of their campgrounds or their campfire rings from December 25th, unless we get a weather pattern change. I believe BLM is in stage 1 restrictions right now, and they haven't moved forward to stage 2. There was talks, but because we're so late in the season and whatnot, it could change.
What's the difference between 1 and 2?
Well, it kind of gets, so like 2, you start shutting down. You can't smoke out in the woods. You can't have campfire rings. Stage 1, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Cody. Stage 1 is like you can still do certain things, like still have a charcoal barbecue, for instance. Stage 2, you can't have a charcoal barbecue out there. So there's different stages to it. It's kind of like they're ramping up in the stage 1, but there's really not that much BLM land here, and and as far as like campgrounds in Lawrence County, but there is a lot of BLM land. But
Okay, what would you gentlemen suggest that we do at this time?
Well, I guess my recommendation is we're kind of late to the game with the fire restrictions. Is maybe if we come up with a plan, in the future, that we have these discussions a little bit earlier, because we've been in about a month and a half of stage 2 fire restriction for U.S. Forest Service. So I would say, I guess, Cody, what do you have there?
So Cody Grippy, I'm the fire management officer. So how it works for us, all those regulations Ray's talking about, that's in the fire protection districts. Everything on the other side of the interstate is, we have no say. And that's where your lighter grassy fuel models and the high winds are going to hit. And that's where your fires are going to take off really right now. And that's where Paul has the regulations on that part in the county. How the state works is we have those little things in place, and then whatever the county decides, we follow suit. If the county says, this is what we want to do, the state comes back and says, that's exactly what we're doing too, and everything that has been implemented, we will follow to a T. This year has been historical as far as fires go. It's South Dakota too. We can sit here all day and say it's going to be dry and windy for the next 14 days, and then also we get snow event, or we won't see snow until March. So.
Okay, thank you. Paul, what's your recommendation?
Well, and the only thing that I've seen a problem with is we do not have anything as far as, I think, a discussion with the sheriff and county commission. We don't have an ordinance with any enforceable teeth. We don't have a fine. So the deputies go out, they can't give them a fine if they feel they need to. So going forward, I'm not sure we need a total burn ban north of the interstate. I think that our ordinance addresses that pretty good if we can enforce it. So,
if I may, Paul, remind me, I think that there was originally an enforcement provision proposed in the ordinance, but I think that was removed by the commissioners, right?
right. And
It was intentional.
right now, the only thing that is enforceable is the costs of suppression and damages.
And that's via state law, I think.
Yeah, it has to be.
And so if we're going to change the ordinance, would require a first and second reading. I don't think it would require a public hearing because it's not planning and zoning related. So you're looking at December 22nd would be the second reading, and then it would take 20 days thereafter to enact it. So you're almost looking at Christmas time.
Yeah, I don't think it'll do us any good this year, but going forward, I think.
And I haven't studied any emergency enactment provisions that the commissioners may have if they wanted to take action today. I haven't looked into that to see what, if any, discretion that you have. There may be something
one available, codified law 7-8-20, general powers of the county commission. In addition to others specified by law, the board of county commission shall have the power, number 18, to permit or restrict open burning after consultation with local fire officials and law enforcement officials in order to protect the public health and safety.
Thank you.
So we could approve it.
So, Mr. Chair, how does that differ from what we have now? Because you said that when we get to a certain high risk of fire, that we have a burning ban or fire restrictions.
Yeah, in the ordinance that you passed, it says that people should not burn when it's high, very high, or extreme.
There's a protocol, right?
But there's no teeth to it
There's
at
no
all.
teeth to it.
Yeah.
And so what you're suggesting is that we could put some teeth into it with this emergency.
Yeah, be good.
Okay.
May I ask for clarification, please?
Sure.
I have on the Deadwood City Commission agenda last night that BLM is now in stage 2. Has that changed?
They were last we talked to them, they were in
So they probably are.
They weren't on our.
Thank you, sir.
So.
Commissioner Flanagan.
Did I just hear Mr. Thompson say we can change ordinance just by doing this right now?
I don't think we're changing the ordinance. You're making sort of an emergency declaration, I think is what it would be.
Right.
And
Did that have a fiduciary element to it? Is that actually allowed?
no, I don't know that you could impose a penalty. I think you would just basically say that there's a ban in place. I'd have to study the issue about whether you can impose.
So we can just do a burn ban.
Yeah.
Commissioner Susan.
I'm curious why they removed the penalty prior.
As I recall, there was a lot of back and forth in that ordinance regarding.
There was a couple of commissioners that felt there shouldn't even be a restriction. period. So it was a matter of opinions.
As I recall, if I may, Commissioner Johnson has some very strong opinions on that, and it seems to me like that was responsible for removing the penalty provisions. Just explaining, not blaming.
So are you asking for burn ban?
I've just asked for the discussion. I think the St. John Fire Chief would like to see that. The Whitewood Fire Chief.
I know the way my grass in my yard looks, which isn't that big a deal, but I got live water right beside it. It looks like it needs a burn ban for a while anyway.
And I don't think it would hurt at this point, because a lot of times, like this little moisture we saw here the other day, and it takes 24 hours and that's gone, and we're back into it.
Who is the burn ban gonna harm if we do one? I can't see where it causes any problems with anyone. And I think it's a good idea.
I would support it.
And so, if I may,
Yes.
Paul, we need to have that statute again, so the burn ban would be pursuant to that statute. And then would you want it to be in place for a certain amount of time, or when would it expire, or would it be in place until the commission acted to take it off?
And they acted to take it off.
And the burn ban would just so if there's a motion that's made, what would the burn ban be? Would it be consistent with our ordinance, or what would something different?
Yeah, I think so. I'll refer to Cody and Ray. Do you feel that north of the interstate is where we should be at our county?
I think if you guys, just for clarity, if you guys are gonna do a county burn ban, then you just do it.
Yeah, do the whole
county.
Okay.
Just so
That's our
it's simple to the
suggestion.
public.
Okay, I think in years past, we've enacted on the whole county. It covers, Forest Service covers BLM, it covers North County. And I believe in years past, in the spring, we've done it where either action of the commission or when the fire danger is declared moderate by the Forest Service, that it comes off. So I'll make the motion to go that route.
Well, that could be day to day.
Well, it's gonna be on until it says moderate
Well,
on the side. When I see it on the moderate, when it says moderate on the side, it comes on. And then if it's off one day, then we'll have to put it back on.
That's tough. I think I'd rather see it.
Well, I made a motion, so if there's no second, then it can get changed.
Just a second. I'll add my comment. I would rather have Paul and his team come in at a later date when they feel that things of moisture levels are adequate, and then we would just take it off at that time. So that's how I would like to see it.
I'll move that we impose a countywide burn ban until the commission takes the day off, or takes it off.
Okay,
If I could, just so we're clear, if there are questions, can we define what the burn ban is? And include that in the motion.
That would include all open burning, whether it be a fire, campfire.
Charcoal
The
fire.
the only things that are allowed is an apparatus that the fuel can be physically turned off.
Like a gas.
Gas. No briquettes, no open burn.
Would it not work to match the burn ban that's already in effect, their requirements?
That's what I'm trying to get to. Does it, is that exactly what that is? Is it different in kind?
Then the Forest Service?
Forest Service.
The Forest Service.
Our burn ban matches Forest Service.
Right, exactly.
So burn ban would be consistent with the Forest Service's
Stage
rules.
2.
Was that your motion, Eric?
I'll second.
second it. Okay.
Whatever.
Seconded by Commissioner Tisdale. Any further discussion? Commissioner Flanagan.
I just want to make sure it doesn't stay on there, that we don't forget, and somebody comes back and.
We'll have it.
Say, if we don't forget, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure we'll be reminded. Yep. All right. We have a motion and a second to impose the fire ban as stated. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
May I make a further comment? Is there some way we can match up with the Forest Service, and when they trigger a phase 1 or phase 2 burn ban, that it triggers you to come in to us and talk to about it?
I thought we were
at the next meeting.
Is there a way to?
Well, it hasn't happened because.
No,
it's
I know,
been
but
there.
I thought,
Yeah.
I seriously thought we had done that one.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that our ordinance reflects that, but I think you're talking about something separate, Commissioner Tisdale. And so we would just be on notice of that in that event, to sort of either anticipate it or come in a timely fashion with the commission and update you and maybe enact a ban like you did today.
Yeah, we could do that.
thank you everyone for participating in that conversation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go to public comment, and I would like to remind everyone that we do have some folks here for that. We're still waiting. During the public comment, you're allowed to stand up and state your name and your address for the record and have a few minutes to visit with us. But during the public comment, it's not an item that's on the agenda, so we can't take any action at all. But we will certainly listen to your concerns. So is there anyone in the public that would like to address the board at this time?
Hey, good morning. Thank you. I'm Mike Coleman. I corresponded with y'all talking about my issues with Scripps Canyon Owners Association.
Okay, what's your address, sir?
21213 US Highway 14A, Scripps Canyon, the South Dakota. Thank you for this time. We find ourselves in a situation where we have a difference of opinion on the calculation of gross square footage. And in order to run through that process, I have some notes here, try to be brief, but I asked my builder to get with the homeowners association and the architectural committee. They did a preliminary review, said I was over because of my screened-in porch, largely on square footage. Agreed, went through there, asked them to consider a variance on the height of 30 feet to go with the zone height of 35. Went through, had a good favorable meeting. I got the voice message from the builder sent to me, or Ralph called the builder and sent to me. Said they were favorable and shouldn't have an issue with the height allowance, but I did have to get under the square footage. So I went through, got my plans redrawn, got to 3,500 square feet. There's a fundamental difference on the open space above my great room. I think all the things are in your packet to review, but it's my professional opinion as an engineer, surveyor, former county engineer, supervising building officials, and two other folks I sought counsel with, that that is indeed not calculated as gross square footage. I sent them a couple different ANSI examples. I sent them the foundational language. It was clear that this was going to be denied from the start. So I went through the formal process because I couldn't get anything in writing. And as of last week, I got a denial letter based on 3,500 square feet. So my ask, recognizing that this isn't a formal proceeding, is that you consider your policy of not issuing building permits until the SCOA group has approved. But in my particular case, I would ask for a courtesy review because the county, through the building process, is the arbiter of square footage to a great degree. And if your building folks agree with me, that would give me a solid position to move forward on this. I'm not asking you to do the building permit, but right now where I sit, you all as the board of commissioners, through previous policies, have become the arbiter of my property rights and the enforcement agency of covenants. And so, you know, I've got an attorney. I got to do what I got to do ultimately. But in my professional world, I work for cities, counties, and towns. We've done a number of projects around here, and it is not my desire to get into an entanglement with Lawrence County, and nor is it my attorneys. I would just like simply to get equal footing with the owners association and be heard. They met as an architectural committee. I talked to the president for a good bit of time last week, and I don't believe there was a formal meeting. I believe the individuals were polled based on what I heard, because I had asked to allow a couple folks that I've talked to present along with me to be an independent arbiter, a plan review agency in Spearfish, and then my designer. And I was not afforded an opportunity to even speak to my own behalf on that. So I think that the privilege granted by the Board of Commission previously in 96, 2008, 2009 has created a system that's a little bit out of balance and doesn't afford me the opportunity to protect my property rights anytime. So with that, I kind of went fast, but that's where I sit.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? I'd like to address the board.
Ralph and Carol Russo.
What's your address?
It's box 777 lead.
Okay, thank you.
I guess we just wanted to touch base. Cindy's on the horn. She's the president of our association up there. We have had an understanding and good relationships with your board through the years. And it's always been that stuff has been run through us, and we generally don't have anything like this going on. And I can feel for Mr. Coleman, but we have redone our covenants to what the people in the canyon want. And
Or the design guidelines.
the design guidelines, yes. We've had a couple things, blips in the past. Carol took it upon herself in 2018 to work on this square footage problem. So it's been thought over a lot. It's been talked over, it's voted upon. People in Spearfish Canyon like what we have done with the guidelines. It states in the guidelines very plainly what we want on this. What do I want to say, Carol?
The definitions. Cindy probably can be a little pretty articulate.
Okay, Cindy, if you'd identify yourself and your address for the record, you may have an opportunity at this time to speak.
Thank you. My name is Cindy Knapp. Our cabin address is 21464 Hannah Road, and I'm here as president of the Spearfish Canyon Owners Association. What I'm understanding the difference of opinion is on the vertical space above the living room being counted as square footage or not, and it's clear in our guidelines that it is to be counted.
Okay. Well, as I stated earlier, this is just we can listen to your concerns. We can't take any action. If you would like us to be more involved, we'd have to get you on the agenda at a future meeting and have a further discussion. So, any of the other commissioners have any questions or?
I had one more thing.
Okay.
We really appreciate the fact that, yes, we are the only HOA that you require prior approval from our architectural review board. It's worked very well all these years. Home State tasked us with certain things, and these guidelines have been there from the beginning to make sure that the integrity of the canyon is maintained. We just really appreciate your support in that and hope it continues. And I'm sure that attorney versus attorney will take place here and it'll all get sorted out one way or the other. But thank you for your support.
Sir, did you have further comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to articulate that I kind of dispute the language thing, and I sent them the foundational language that they pulled into their guidelines in its entirety. And there is a reference to circulation space. It's included in the letter I submitted to you all. But that is essentially stairs and those kind of things. I also submitted another guideline. And so to say that the regulations are clear, the homeowners association has a duty to write a rule that a reasonable person could read and interpret. And I've been in charge of building officials, been a county engineer. I've been dealing with this stuff most of my career. And I read that. And as far as regulations go and voted on, I wasn't living, but I owned in the canyon in 2018, and I've never been noticed on anything. I think that the board operates pretty autonomously, with the exception of one meeting a year that I have not been able to attend due to schedule. So I would like to pursue this further because, prior to getting attorneys involved, I think that the simple review of by your building department without commitment to issuing a building permit would be a pretty good arbiter of gross square footage in this case. That's all. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you hearing me.
Could I have another moment, please?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, I 100% support Carol's comments about our guidelines and covenants. We're not autonomous. We bring issues to our membership at those meetings, and we make our membership aware of things that are going on. Mr. Coleman is one out of 200 homeowners, and this is not an issue that we have faced in the past. I just wanted to kind of bring that to the attention that this is one out of 200 homeowners that has this issue. I believe it is an interpretation of the guidelines and a definition issue. And as Carol suggested, if it goes to the attorneys, then it goes to the attorneys. And clearly, I've already been in touch with our attorney. So I would Thank you for your time and for listening to us and to Mr. Coleman. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to shut it down at this time. And as I stated earlier, if anyone wants to go further with this, I would ask that you get a hold of Bruce and be placed on the agenda in the very near future here for further discussion. Amber, you had a question?
I just have a question. So his request to our office is just to review the permit as if we were going to issue it, but not really issue it. I have no problem doing that. I don't think it's really going to matter one way or another, but I probably will have our office just review it like we normally would.
Bruce?
I'm going to guess, I don't know, that our way of reviewing that is probably going to be in opposite to what
the
result will be. So it's for two different purposes potentially.
Yep.
But I have no expertise.
Yep.
Okay. Anything further from the board here on before we discontinue here?
I guess I just have one question. What, I assume in the bylaws you have a process for settling disputes. Have you initiated that process, or where are we at in that? Cindy?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. So yeah, well, okay. So first of all, the building permit issue is an ARC committee issue. It doesn't go to the board initially. It starts with Ralph and not Ralph personally, but his committee. Our bylaws speak to the fact that if Mr. Coleman is unhappy with their decision, which he was, that it then can be presented to the board, and the board can authorize the ARC committee to grant a waiver or act differently. And the board is not going to give the ARC permission to grant a waiver in this situation, because we don't want to start setting precedents all over the canyon of granting waivers. Our attorney has told me more times than one that our covenants and guidelines are only as good as far as they're enforced. When you stop enforcing them and you start granting waivers, you open up lots of doors. Again, this is one homeowner out of 200 that is interpreting our guidelines differently. So that is our process for handling disputes. At this point, it would be up to Mr. Coleman to either redo his drawings and resubmit it to the ARC committee, or act further in his discretion with what he wants to do. The board nor the ARC committee is asking for the county to be involved. We are only here because Mr. Coleman has asked you to be involved.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
For that question. I'll be
brief,
I promise. I was informed, my builder was informed that this has been an issue 2 other times, and it was resolved by the people redesigning their cabin short of litigation, as stated by Ralph, my builder.
Okay.
But secondly, I did request a formal waiver. And again, to my knowledge, there's been no board meeting. I've been not afforded a single opportunity to speak to it. And that waiver request is in the email you packet. Thank you.
All right.
I'll shut up.
All right, thank you. Anything further to come before the board?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I'm going to end the meeting for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.